On the 27th of December 2020, the President of the United States of America signed a COVID relief bill. Contained in the bill was a clause stating that the Pentagon had 180 days to release information about UAPs, or as we commonly call them, UFOs. Join myself and Neil as we try to figure out the whys and wherefores of this seemingly strange move.
Aliens Explored is a weekly podcast exploring famous and obscure cases of UFO sightings, alien abductions and other strange events from both a believing and a sceptical perspective whilst keeping an open mind. I'm Stu Jackson, a professional actor and amateur ufologist with a particular interest in the crop circle phenomenon. I'll be debating that otherworldly visitations are real. The truth is out there.
And I'm Neil Kelly. I'm a professional actor as well and used to work for the military as an intelligence analyst. I'll be arguing from a more doubtful point of view. I mean, it's all a bit far-fetched, isn't it? Hello listeners and welcome back to Aliens Explored, your weekly look at the skies above us and those unidentified aerial objects and so on. I'm your host, one of your hosts, Neil Kelly.
You've done it again. I'm your other host, Stu Jackson.
I've got
calling yourself. You're trying to.
Sorry,
you're trying to take over this.
Welcome to the Neil Kelly Show. my guest today,
as ever. Fantastic. Well, no, it's interesting you open that with saying, where we look at the skies, because we're not looking at the skies this week. It's a little bit different, isn't it, Neil?
It is very different. We're looking at all the evidence of people having looked at the skies in the past.
Well, we're looking basically at the future, so we're speculating
and the future and the present
in this episode. So
we're speculating in the future about what they'll release about what they had in the past. If that makes sense.
Perhaps they won't release,
and what they might not release because these spooks aren't to be trusted, are they?
Indeed,
not in any movie I've ever seen, anyway.
Yes. So, this is the attachment to the COVID relief fund that Donald Trump signed back on the 27th of December 2020 when he signed a funding bill giving $2.3 trillion of coronavirus relief and government funding. There's this attachment, isn't there?
There's a clause in there which begins a 180-day countdown to disclosing everything they've ever recorded about UFOs.
Yes, they being the Pentagon. And specifically, they've asked for the Office of Naval Intelligence. All about unidentified aerial phenomena.
Yes.
And also the FBI. Because the Naval Intelligence do have a UAP task force, specifically. Kind of a government department deliberately looking at what we call UFOs, but UAPs is becoming the kind of the official title for
unidentified aerial phenomena, which I suppose is more of a catch-all. It could include hostile terrestrial or hostile craft of or unknown craft of a terrestrial origin. It could.
So could UFO.
So could UFO. It could also include natural phenomena, which makes it look like there's something in the sky.
It could include items that are perhaps falling to Earth or being pulled in by the gravity, which you couldn't really describe as flying.
No, but I mean, if you work in I think in any branch of the armed services, if you're involved in air defence, and an awful lot of money is put into air defence, then you are very interested in unidentified aerial phenomena or unidentified. Yeah, any aircraft which is not known is presumed to be hostile. In fact, as we found out during the first or the second Gulf War, as a couple of British RAF fighter pilots or bomber pilots found out to their cost, America has automated systems which will, if their radar picks up an object which doesn't display send the right signal back, they have identifiers on their craft, so their radar will pick them up and know that it's a friendly craft. If you're not displaying that kind of beacon to their radar, it will automatically launch a missile at you, and that's what happened, and people lost their lives over that blue on blue fire. So yes, so you become suddenly a friendly aircraft becomes a UAP because it's not displaying the right radar beacon.
Yes.
But
So
I feel like I'm digressing again.
you are a little, but that's what we do on this show.
We do, yeah.
But UAP. So I can understand why UAPs are of particular interest to the Pentagon, to the armed forces in general.
And there are a number of things they've seen that said, well, we just don't know what it is.
Exactly.
Which
that's fair enough.
Which is the basis of this show, isn't it?
Well, even I, as a devout ufologist, I'm not going to jump to the automatic conclusion, well, just because we haven't identified it makes it otherworldly. Knowing what objects are unidentified gives us the opportunity to look into them more deeply and perform our own analysis. You've then got the collective wisdom of society, which is got to be good, right?
It's got to be good, but let's rewind a little bit. I think we've got a bit ahead of ourselves. Why was this included in the COVID-19 relief bill? Did someone just take the opportunity to think, this is a massive bit of paperwork going through, this is my chance, I'll just slip this in and see if anyone notices?
I think that's a brilliant question. I mean, what on earth has it got to do with COVID relief?
Yeah.
Or coronavirus relief? Absolutely nothing whatsoever is the obvious answer, unless, of course, as some people have speculated, coronavirus has come from an extraterrestrial source. It's a little bit conspiracy theory, but it's...
No, I've been reading the Andromeda strain, Michael Crichton's 1967 book about a quest for pathogens high in our orbit that could be weaponized against an enemy, and of course, what could possibly go wrong with that?
Indeed. And that might be a whole other episode right there. But aside from that, that's really, in terms of speculation, the only relation I can make between coronavirus and unidentified aerial phenomena and this request for a report. But okay, so as a slight aside to that, though, my understanding of American politics is very, very limited. I mean, we're not American for a start.
Yes, probably some of our listeners could clue us in, put us right on this.
Indeed, but and this does come from watching movies and TV programs, so I apologise to listeners if this is horrendously wrong. But as I understand it, it's not that uncommon for a bill to have riders attached to them that are completely unrelated anyway. Okay, you want to put this bill through, fine, but you've also got to put this other thing as well.
Otherwise, I won't support it. That sort of... what they call horse trading. They do it on the West Wing all the time, don't they?
I don't watch the West Wing, but I'm glad that's backed up with that.
Yes, it is. All sorts of senators saying, well, I'll only support... They say, we can't get this bill through unless we have so-and-so support. And he's saying, well, I won't support it. However, I might be prepared to consider supporting it if you do this for me. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. That's how politics works. So is that what it was? That someone said, I'll only sign it off if we agree to this. We agree to release all the information we've ever gathered about unidentified aerial objects.
Well, indeed. Now, I'm going to cast your mind back to a few episodes ago. We discussed Hayam Eshad,
Yes.
who was the he was the head of director of space operations for the Israeli government. I'm trying to remember his actual job title, but anyway,
he had various, didn't he? I mean, was he a general? He was a military man, but he also became a top scientist.
Yeah, well, I think he was a scientist first, but he ended up director of aeronautical. Anyway, the point is, he's claimed, that yes, the governments have known all about this, and Trump in particular, he cited as an example of a president who knew all about the UFO, wanted to release the information, but was stopped. Now, okay, Trump, in fact, the day we're recording this, listeners, a little bit behind the scenes, on the 20th of January. Now, that's quite a momentous, significant day for you in America, and I'm hoping at this point that all goes smoothly for the transition. But obviously, Trump at this point, when Hayam Eshad is talking about this, knows he's Trump, when he's talking about releasing this relief fund and signing this bill, he knows he's on the way out at this point. Doesn't that strike you as a kind of Trump-esque thing to do, to say, well, okay, you stopped me from releasing this information, so, screw you guys. You want this money? Fine. You've got to do this thing that I wasn't allowed to do.
But he didn't make it... Maybe he does. I've never heard him say anything about UFOs, and I've never heard him... He might have said it, but I didn't... I've watched him fairly closely, and he doesn't do anything without mentioning it, does he? I mean, he doesn't have a thought that doesn't come out of his mouth.
I don't know. I think...
Or gets tweeted. He would have tweeted it that today Americans will finally know the truth about UFOs thanks to me.
He wouldn't now.
No, but at the time this happened, he still had that facility available to him, didn't he? And he didn't use it. So,
well, whatever your opinion of it, I mean, he's not a completely stupid person, and saying it at the time would not have been the time to do it, because you'd want this to slip in under the radar. And in fact, this clause is really well buried in amongst all the other information about coronavirus and how the money should be spent and what have you. So it is quite buried. And if you want to get something through sneakily, well, you're not going to shout about it, because that would get it stopped. Yeah, how
big is this bill? How much of a read is it? Do we know?
It is. I'm sure I read somewhere 500 and odd pages.
I mean, when you think...
5,593 pages.
And how long did people have to... I mean, this would have gone through as a matter of urgency, wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
Dealing with a national emergency. People are dying. We need to get this through fast. Can you just have a quick skim over these 5,500 pages and put your moniker at the bottom, and we'll get this money? And think, okay, sign here to get the money, and worry about everything else later. So that's a perfect bill to hide things. I mean, politicians don't read all these things. I mean, they'll read the bit that they're interested in, but they won't read all the things that they're concerned about. But they won't even... I mean, Boris Johnson only the other day admitted that he hadn't even read the Brexit deal that he negotiated. That there are things
that's not the first time Boris has done something like that.
But I mean, he is notoriously lazy.
Andrew Marr caught him out
with
one.
He is notoriously lazy, as are members of his government. Dominic Raab went to Ireland to talk about the Irish border, or the English border in Ireland, and showed such crass ignorance he eventually had to admit he hadn't read the Good Friday Agreement, which runs to all of 9 pages. So, he could have read that on the plane on the way over, but he didn't.
I mean,
and
the Good Friday Agreement is so fundamentally important. It's that's disgraceful. In civilian life, that'd be a sackable offence, I think.
Absolutely, yeah. So anyway, we got this massive bill, and somewhere hidden in it is something that doesn't seem at all pertinent to that bill, but possibly could have been included as a deal. There could have been a senator who has a particular interest in this kind of thing and has been lobbying for years to get this information out there.
It could be, or it could be Trump himself. I mean, that's my theory. Is it is Trump himself, kind of doing his sort of petulant thing of, well, you stopped me from saying this, so I'm going to make you say, I'm going to make you say it instead. That strikes me as very much his MO, in my opinion. That is, so that's my theory as to why this was included. Is associated with the whole, what Hayam had said, which is that Trump does know all about this and just was prevented from saying it. It's a little bit down the rabbit hole, but there you go.
Maybe. Or it could be the completely opposite. Trump didn't want it leaked out, and someone saw an opportunity to slip it in, knowing that he's not going to read this. It could have been the other way around, Just as we're in total speculation territory here, listeners.
Oh, that's it. Is that your speculation then, that it's the other way around?
I don't think it was Donald Trump. I think it would be someone who had an interest and wanted that information out there, and just had the opportunity to slip it in. Had a negotiating lever, and and it's quite possible that the person who said, "Okay, we'll put it in the bill," and hopefully, or maybe no one will notice it. Maybe they'll just keep quiet about it, and we won't have to act on it. I mean, there must be also when you're talking about documents of 5,500 pages, there must be an awful lot in there that just never happens. There's just too much.
Could well be. Well, that actually leads very nicely on to the next thing I wanted us to discuss. So, we're looking ahead at what we can hope to be released, or what we can expect to be released. We know that the deadline is the Friday, the 25th of June this year, 2021.
The 25th, did you say?
25th of June
25th
is the
June.
180 days deadline. Now, because it's a Friday, and of course this podcast comes out on a Friday, we're hoping, dear listener, not going to make any promises, but we are hoping to do a live stream about this very subject on the 25th itself, hopefully saying, look at all this information that's come out, and isn't it amazing, and we now bow to our alien overlords. But who knows what we'll be saying by then, or we will be saying, so where is it then? But we're hoping to do a live show. It's very difficult for us to commit that far in advance because we're both very busy actors. Less busy this last year, but it is hard for us to commit. But that's what we're hoping to do at this point. So make sure you're listening to all the episodes in between, of course.
And we could also be just as likely be discussing what excuse they came up with this time for not releasing it.
Well, that's the thing. So what can we expect for them to be saying? I know. So in this particular, let's look at first what it is specifically that's been asked for. So they've asked for an unclassified report on the UAP phenomenon.
Presumably a classified report already exists, and they're just asking for it to be declassified.
Well, no, they would ask for a declassified. So unclassified is different to declassified, isn't it? And as a military intelligence, you
unclassified just means it hasn't got any classification attached to it. But declassified means you've actually taken something that's secret or whatever and decided this is no longer secret. This can go into open. This can become public knowledge. Quite often it will be, well, as long as you take this bit out and this bit out and this bit out, then the rest of it can go out. But you can't. These names have to be removed or what have you.
So redacted information.
It'll be redacted, but it'll then be rendered unclassified.
Okay. So does that render this release of information? Does it take its teeth away?
If they're obliged to release everything they currently hold, then what they're being told to do, in my understanding of it, is that all this stuff you've got that you've classified secret or top secret, you've got to declassify it, and put it out in the public forum.
Well, that's not what it's asking for. It's not asking for all the information. They're asking for an unclassified report.
Right, that's different.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So are we now? So let's say there's a hypothetical situation. Let's say that a UFO comes down, abducts a person, experiments on them, puts them back, and then the government does an investigation. And they investigate and they say, well, okay, they speak to witnesses who see something in the sky, but they don't really know what it is. And then they examine the person who's been abducted and they find actual evidence. They say they find implants, technological implants that are way beyond our capability, or something like that. Part of that report, those files will be unclassified. It'll be, we spoke to these witnesses, they saw something but they don't know what it is. That would be unclassified. The classified part would be, and we found this evidence. So asking for an unclassified report, if you on that one hypothetical situation, would be, some people saw something, they don't know what it was.
Yeah, I didn't think that was all. I thought that was already out. That sort of information, reports of what people have seen and what's been reported, and that's. But
unclassified information is available under a Freedom of Information request. But obviously, classified information isn't. There is allegedly, I think it's a 30-year. Is it a 30-year? Statute of limitations on these things, that any classified information has to be released after 30 years. I mean, that's how we know about Project Blue Book now. Whether they do actually release everything is a whole other matter.
I mean, it might be. I mean, some things, certainly in Britain, they have much longer periods. Things are still classified under the 100 years rule. And even after 100 years, they might say, well, we still don't want this information out.
Exactly, yeah. Just because they say they're releasing everything doesn't mean that they are.
And releasing information about unidentified aerial phenomena, that's going to prompt people in the Air Force or the Navy to say, well, we tracked this thing in the sky. If we release this information, we're releasing information about our highly classified air defence technology. We don't want that information. If we release what information we've got, it will show how we got it, basically. You can't reveal the information without revealing the source, and we don't want to release that information.
So they're not going to release information that gives away technological secrets
that would threaten the nation, that would present a security breach.
So that raises massive questions about how useful all this is going to be anyway then. I mean, I know the UFO community is very, very excited. And indeed, getting a report from the Pentagon about the UAP phenomenon is a big deal. Let's not make this less than what it is. But it's not a release of all information. It's not the declassification of top secret stuff. It's not suddenly, they're going to turf out all the aliens from Area 51 and, make them homeless or anything.
Maybe that's it. Maybe they've been served with their eviction order. It's 180 days. You've got to find a new planet to live on. There you go. Maybe that's what it's all about. Now, a lot of these agencies have already released lots of information, haven't they? And under Freedom of Information requests, particularly to the Black Vault, which has been referred to in many.
There was a recent massive release of information. Yes, as you say, under the Release of Information Act. And we are actually going to be talking about that in a couple of weeks' time. But it's interesting you mentioned that, because it is being conflated at the moment quite a lot with this, because it happened shortly after or around the time they said, oh yeah, we're going to, you've got 180 days to give us this report. And then it was pure coincidence. The CIA happened to release all this information to the black, although they were really shitty in the way that they've done it. But that's a whole. We're going to be talking about that in a couple of weeks.
Absolutely,
I don't want us to go down that digression.
No, but
yet.
Needless to say, they have released. I mean, if you look at the Black Vault, theblackvault.com, they've released millions of pages. They've released information, but with very, very ill grace. They've released it in a format that's very, very difficult to search through, very, very difficult to catalogue. Here, it's just a massive, it's a truckload of paper, basically. There you go.
They literally delivered it in paper form.
Yeah.
They've met their legal requirements, but it is really, really shitty the way they've done it. Yeah, but like I said, we will be discussing that. So, do you know what? I mean, it's time, really, that we need to summarise our thoughts then. Well, normally we'd summarise on a story that's happened and say, well, do you believe, don't you believe? But this is a little bit of a different summary. So we've effectively summarised why we think this was attached to a COVID bill in the first place.
Speculated.
We agree. It was snuck in. It was kind of under the radar, and I think that's pretty obvious from the fact it was buried so deep.
Yes,
as a clause. But in terms of what we can expect, I'm hopeful. I think I can say that. I'll be interested to read the report on UAPs, but the fact it's unclassified information, I don't think we're going to see anything extraordinary. I don't think we're going to see any massive revelations from the government. Although, I'm firmly of the belief that the government is keeping a lot of stuff about otherworldly and extraterrestrial visitation secret. I don't think we're going to see it revealed suddenly in this. In fact, I think the information's there, just not coming out.
I think what they release, albeit very limited, I think it will just provoke more speculation. So, oh, right. There's lots of stuff they're obviously not saying. They're obviously going to a great deal of trouble not to say. We'll just be speculating more and more, won't we? It'll be fodder for us conspiracy theorists.
You think it'll raise more questions?
I think
than it answers.
That's what I was trying to get to in my roundabout way. That what they release will raise more questions than it does answer. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we will have to see. And like I say, 25th of June is the date to put in your diaries. 2021. Obviously. But in the meantime, do let us know what you think. Do let us know what you expect to see from this report in particular. Do you think we've got it wrong and that the government will come completely clean on the aliens that they've got stored and alien bases around the world and what have you? Or are they going to come completely clean and say, no, we've fabricated a load of stuff and here it is? That'd be interesting.
Yes.
That would be quite interesting to see, in fact, as I'm saying this. But either way, let us know what you think by Twitter or Facebook. You can search us by searching Aliens Explored. And of course, you can visit us on aliensexplored.com. And in fact, before we go, I'm going to make a request to you, dear listener. If you've enjoyed listening to this podcast, and we hope you have, please do leave us a review. Drop us some stars. write a quick review saying what you think about us. That will help other people to find this podcast. That's how podcasting works, apparently. The more reviews we get, the more people will find us, and the more we can spread the word and have the discussion. So that's it from me. Don't forget to join us next time when we will be discussing the strange sounds coming from... I'm going all dramatic now.
You are. What's happened to your voice? You've got... Someone's got a Shakespeare script in front of you.
I'm going into a 1950s B movie. Well, it might as well be from a 1950s B movie. Don't mock 1950s B movies. I love 1950s B movies.
Don't
we all? Forbidden Planet remains one of my favourite movies. But there are strange sounds coming from the Mariana Trench, and they certainly sound very otherworldly. So we'll be discussing that next time. Do join us for that. Yeah. So that's it from me.
And that's it from me.
And in the meantime, keep watching those government bills and the skies. Take care.
See you soon. You'll hear from us soon. Bye-bye. Aliens Explored is a Fecal Films production in association with Juicy Falls. Music by Darren Mafucci and editing by Stu Jackson. Find us on Twitter or Facebook by searching Aliens Explored, or visit us on aliensexplored.com.